This maid was never supposed to touch the billionaire's desk. But the moment she lifted that one hidden document, her entire life and his entire empire changed forever. Camila Wax walked into work like any other day, but by sunset, she uncovered a secret so dangerous it could have destroyed thousands of jobs, wiped out a billion-dollar company, and ended the career of one of the richest men in Manhattan. And the craziest part? SHE was the only one brave enough to stop it. Before this story begins, tell me in the comments, would you risk your job to expose the truth? And if you love powerful stories of the unheard rising to greatness, hit subscribe right now, because what Camila did next shocked everyone. The city was still waking up when Camila Wax stepped off the bus, her breath forming small clouds in the cold Manhattan morning. The towers of glass and steel rose above her like a world she wasn't meant to belong to, yet needed desperately. Her uniform was pressed, her apron tied perfectly, and her hair tucked neatly into a bun. Because even when life didn't give her much, Camila made sure she showed up like she had something to protect. And she did. A little sister in the hospital, a rent deadline approaching like a threat, a paycheck that barely stretched past groceries. For her, this job wasn't a choice. It was survival. She pushed open the doors of Maxwell Towers, the headquarters of one of the biggest corporations in the country. She didn't walk into the lobby like someone coming to clean. She walked in like someone entering a battlefield she couldn't afford to lose. But today was different. Today, for the first time, Camila was assigned to the executive floor, the top level where billionaires, board members, and power lived. Most cleaners worked a decade before they were allowed there. Camila had been here only 6 months. She pushed her cart into the staff elevator, trying not to overthink it. She needed extra hours, extra pay. She had asked for more shifts. Maybe this was her shot. The elevator dinged softly at the top floor, and the moment the doors opened, the world changed. The executive floor looked nothing like the others. The air smelled like expensive cedar and citrus. The carpet was thick and silent. The walls shimmered with awards, framed magazines, investment trophies, and billion-dollar signatures. And at the end of the hallway, a glass door with gold lettering. Andre Maxwell, Chief Executive Officer. She swallowed. Everyone in the country knew that name. A billionaire, a genius, a man who built an empire before he was 40. She had never met him, only glimpsed him through news articles taped above her little sister's hospital bed. Every time her sister saw his name, she whispered, "Camila, you'll work somewhere big someday. I believe in you." Camila shook off the thought and pushed her cart quietly down the hallway. She wasn't here because she belonged. She was here because someone called in sick. As she walked, she noticed things others wouldn't. A crooked frame slightly tilted, a footprint on polished glass, a missing pen cap under a table. Her observant mind always saw the details. It was her gift, or maybe her curse. She stopped at Andre Maxwell's office. Her hands tightened on the cart handle. She shouldn't go inside. She wasn't supposed to. But the assignment sheet in her pocket said Suite 500, deep clean. She checked the hallway. Silent. Empty. Camila opened the door slowly. The room swallowed her in silence. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the entire Manhattan skyline. The desk was enormous, sleek, and intimidating. 3 digital screens glowed faintly, still active. A glass of untouched water sat beside a stack of folders. It looked like someone left in a hurry. Camila stepped inside with careful respect, as if walking into the office of a king. She moved toward the desk, intending to dust quickly and leave. Even a fingerprint in this office could mean trouble. She lifted a cloth and reached toward the first monitor. But then she froze. One of the screens flashed bright red. Warning. Liquidity failure, urgent. Camila blinked. She wasn't a financial expert. She didn't speak the language of billionaires or markets, but she knew what a red warning meant. She glanced at the other screens. Charts, plunging downward. Lines, red, red, red. Numbers falling. Graphs collapsing. Her heart thumped. Something wasn't right. Not even close. She looked around the office again, this time with new eyes, a pen left open, folders half closed, financial statements stacked messily, a tablet locked but still glowing. Something felt off, like someone had been searching for something, or hiding something. She stepped closer to the desk. Her fingers hovered over the papers. "Don't touch anything," she whispered to herself. "You'll get fired. You'll get in trouble. Just clean and leave." But her eyes couldn't escape the documents partially stuffed under a heavy folder. She noticed a pattern, numbers repeating on multiple pages, the same figures appearing in separate reports without reason. Her father used to tell her, if a number repeats too perfectly, someone is lying. She felt a chill. Her father had run a tiny shop before he died. Camila did the books with him every night. She saw patterns, mistakes, frauds. She became good at numbers, not school smart, but life smart. And these numbers, these weren't mistakes. They were warnings, signals, cries for help hidden inside financial print. Her breathing slowed. "This isn't my business," she whispered. But something tugged at her, something sharp, something urgent. What if the company was in danger? What if thousands of families who depended on these paychecks would lose everything? What if this was a crime? What if someone was stealing? Camila stepped around the desk. Her eyes drifted to the lower right corner of the screen. Projected collapse. 2 days remaining. Her stomach dropped. No, this couldn't be. Companies like this didn't collapse. Not overnight. But the red screens didn't lie. She looked at the documents again. And then she saw it. A signature. One she didn't recognize. Not Andre's. Not any executive she'd ever heard of. And beneath it, a transfer authorization for millions. Her breath caught. Her throat tightened. "What is this?" she whispered. Her hand shook. She shouldn't read it. She shouldn't touch it. She shouldn't be here. But she was. And the documents were right in front of her. Her curiosity fought against her fear. Her morality fought against her survival instincts. Her heart pounded like a warning drum in her chest. She whispered to herself, "Something's wrong, terribly wrong." For a moment, she stepped back. Her mind screamed, "Walk away." But then she looked at the company photos on the wall. Employees smiling. Families. Awards. Decades of work. She remembered the hospital bills. Her sister's eyes. Her father's lessons. And she realized if she walked away now, she would be walking away from the truth. From thousands of jobs. From a disaster no one else seemed to notice. Camila took a slow, trembling breath. And then, with courage she did not know she had, she gently lifted the folder. A single sheet of paper slid out. Her eyes widened in horror. It wasn't just wrong. It was illegal, criminal, a betrayal hidden in plain sight. Her mouth fell open. Her hands trembled, and the entire room felt colder. Because this wasn't just a mistake. It was sabotage. Someone inside Maxwell Holdings was trying to destroy the company. Camila's breath broke in her throat. She wasn't supposed to be here. She wasn't supposed to see this. She wasn't supposed to know. But now she did. And nothing would ever be the same again. She stares at the illegal document, frozen in shock, realizing someone inside the company is committing fraud. Before we go deeper, comment your thoughts, your time, and your location. I want to know who's watching this story unfold. The office felt colder now. Still, heavy, the kind of silence that carried danger. Camila Wax stood over the CEO's desk, staring at the illegal document in her trembling hands. The bold numbers at the bottom glared up at her like an accusation. $14 million. Transferred status. Complete account. Unregistered. Her stomach twisted. She flipped to the next page. Another transfer. Another signature she didn't recognize. Another red flag. Camila swallowed hard. This wasn't one mistake. This was a pattern. Her heart hammered in her chest as she placed the papers on the desk, spread them apart, and began flipping through them faster. Hands shaking, breath tightening. Every sheet told a story. A terrifying one. Repeating numbers. Identical amounts. Same transfer timing every quarter. Offsets disguised as miscellaneous expenses. Millions disappearing into accounts that didn't exist. Every few pages, she whispered to herself, "No, no, no, this can't be real." But it was. Her father's voice echoed in her memory, warm, steady, patient. When numbers repeat without reason, someone is lying, Camila. And when people lie with numbers, they're hiding something big. Her eyes burned. "Dad, what am I supposed to do with this? Why me?" She looked at the documents again. Why would anyone hide this here? Why leave it half covered, half visible? Why bury it under folders instead of destroying it? Unless her breath caught. Unless someone wanted the company to collapse, wanted Andre Maxwell blindsided, wanted this empire destroyed from the inside. She took in a sharp breath. Her knees weakened. She grabbed the back of the CEO's chair to steady herself. "Millions," she whispered. "Millions have been stolen." Her eyes shot to the computer screens. Projected collapse, 36 hours. 36 hours. Not days. Not weeks. Hours. If this wasn't fixed immediately, Maxwell Holdings would die. Camila felt her pulse in her throat. This company employed more than 8,000 people. People with kids. People with rent. People who depended on paychecks. Her face tightened. If I walk away, all of them lose everything. Just like that. But another thought hit harder. Will anyone believe me? I'm just a maid. The word stung. She imagined walking up to some executive and saying, "Excuse me, sir. I found fraudulent documents that prove a multi-million-dollar internal sabotage." They would laugh. Or worse, fire her, arrest her, accuse her of accessing confidential files. She closed her eyes tightly. Her sister's hospital bed flashed in her mind. Those bills, piling like stones on her heart. Her mother's exhausted face. Their fragile hope. If she lost this job, if she got in trouble, if this backfired, Camila's voice cracked. "I can't lose this job. I can't. I can't." She sank into the CEO's chair, slowly, cautiously, because her legs wouldn't support her anymore. The chair creaked under her trembling weight. She took a breath. Then another. Her panic softened into something else. Something sharper. Harder. A spark. Determination. "No one else knows what's happening," she whispered. "No one else has seen this. No one else is going to save this company." She looked down at her hands. A maid's hands. Scratched by cleaning chemicals. Callous from work. Steady from years of responsibility she never asked for. Hands that could save thousands of people if she had the courage to act. She pushed herself forward. One by one, she gathered every document. Stolen money. Fake accounts, forged signatures, hidden printouts, buried statements. She laid them across the desk like puzzle pieces. She saw patterns forming. A trail, a story written in fraud. Her fingers moved faster now, not trembling from fear, but from adrenaline. She corrected numbers, cross-checked signatures, rebuilt accurate liquidity projections, recalculated cash flow. Every calculation she made narrowed her eyes more. Every corrected figure confirmed her fear. Maxwell Holdings was hours away from catastrophic collapse. The markets would react instantly. The board would panic. Employees would lose everything. Andre Maxwell, one of the most admired CEOs in the country, would become a headline. Billionaire loses empire in overnight financial meltdown. And all because someone inside wanted him destroyed. Camila's jaw clenched. "No," she whispered. "Not today. Not on my watch." She slid one corrected page aside. Then another. Then another. Stacks grew quickly, forming a clear, undeniable report. The trash report, the false one, was full of deception. But her corrected version? Clean. Precise. True. She glanced at the clock on the wall. 7:18 a.m. Andre Maxwell could walk in any minute. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Would he think she was stealing? Would he fire her instantly? Would he even listen? But another thought cut through the panic. If I don't do this, no one will. She gathered the corrected financial sheets, straightened them, and placed them neatly at the center of Andre's desk, right where he couldn't ignore them. The truth, bold and undeniable. She breathed out shakily. I hope you see what I see, Mr. Maxwell, because your company is dying. Then she took the forged documents, the illegal ones, and slid them into the false bottom of her cleaning cart, a hiding spot no executive would think to inspect. She would study them at home, understand them, find the person behind them, prepare to defend herself if things went wrong. Because now that she knew, she couldn't unknow. She stepped back from the desk. Her cheeks were damp with adrenaline and fear. Her lips pressed together tightly. Determination lived in her eyes now, cold, heavy, unavoidable. Then she heard it, a sound behind the door. Footsteps, slow, approaching. Camila's heart jumped into her throat. No, not now, not like this. The doorknob twitched, turned, slowly, quietly. Someone was entering. Camila froze, hands still hovering over the documents. Her eyes widened. The door opened by an inch, and a shadow fell across the floor. Someone was walking into the CEO's office. Right now, right as she placed the corrected financial sheets on his desk. Her breath disappeared. The room narrowed. This was it. Everything she had just uncovered, every risk she took, was about to collide with whoever stood at that door. And from the silhouette, it didn't look like a janitor, or a secretary, or a random employee. It looked like Andre Maxwell himself. The door creaked wider. Camila swallowed as her entire body turned ice cold. The CEO was about to see her. Camila places a corrected financial sheet on Andre's desk, just as the office door handle slowly turns from the outside. If this discovery shocked you, subscribe now. By the time the sun dipped behind the Manhattan skyline, Maxwell Towers transformed into a different world, one Camila had never seen before. The day shift workers were gone. The executives had retreated to their penthouses. Even security guards moved slower, bored, watching muted screens. The building breathed differently at night, quiet, cold, and secretive. Camila Wax stepped off the elevator at 11:42 p.m., heart pounding so hard she feared the sound alone could give her away. She wasn't scheduled to be here. She wasn't even allowed on this floor at night. But she had no choice anymore. The documents she found earlier weren't something you left alone. They weren't something to forget or ignore. They were a ticking bomb. And the countdown was already running. Camila tightened her hoodie around her uniform and pushed her cleaning cart toward Andre Maxwell's office. Each step echoed. Each shadow stretched long. Each flicker of fluorescent light made her flinch. But she didn't turn back. Not tonight. Tonight, she needed answers. Finally, she reached the glass door with the gold lettering. Andre Maxwell, Chief Executive Officer. Her throat tightened. She placed her hand on the cool door handle and pushed. Inside the CEO's office, midnight. The room was dim, lit only by the soft glow of city lights spilling in through floor-to-ceiling windows. The glass reflected the glittering skyline, like a second universe. Camila closed the door quietly behind her and exhaled. This office was no longer intimidating. Tonight, it was dangerous. She rolled her cart inside and pulled the documents from a hidden compartment. Papers rustled as she placed them on the CEO's desk. Page after page after page. Forged signatures, fake accounts, false reports, disappearing millions, all laid out like puzzle pieces from a nightmare. She turned on a single desk lamp. The warm cone of light illuminated the chaos. Okay, she whispered to herself. Think. You have to think. She took out her cheap phone, the screen cracked in the corner, and opened the calculator app. Her fingers hovered over it, then began moving quickly as she cross-checked every number, every transfer, every pattern. Each calculation made her pulse faster, because every calculation confirmed the truth. This wasn't sloppy fraud. This wasn't amateur theft. This wasn't an accident. This was surgical, strategic, engineered, sabotage. Someone inside Maxwell Holdings was trying to drown the company, but not randomly, intentionally, calculatedly, on a timer. She stopped at one page. A transfer scheduled for Friday morning. A massive one. A transfer that, when executed, would push the company into irreversible liquidity failure. Her chest caved inward. Friday, that's only 2 days away. She felt lightheaded. 2 days, 48 hours, thousands of employees, $800 million in assets, an entire corporate empire, ruined because of one person who knew exactly where to strike. Camila grabbed another page, then froze. At the top corner of several documents was a tiny embossed symbol, one she recognized from earlier that day. It belonged to someone with clearance, someone high-ranked, someone close to Andre Maxwell, someone on the executive leadership team. She whispered, "It's an insider." Her breathing quickened. The documents were too clean, too consistent, too perfectly disguised. No outsider could access this level of internal accounting. No hacker could sign forms stored in a locked, secure file cabinet. This was personal, calculated, precise. And the worst part? Whoever was doing this worked on the same floor she was standing on. The hair on her arms rose. She tugged her hoodie tighter, suddenly aware how exposed she was, how vulnerable, how alone. If anyone found her here, if anyone discovered she had these documents, they wouldn't just fire her, they would silence her. She pressed a hand to her chest, feeling her heart speed up like a drum. "But I can't walk away," she whispered. "I can't." She grabbed a blank sheet of company letterhead, thick, embossed paper with a Maxwell Holdings insignia, and laid it on the desk. Her hand hovered over a pen. She wasn't an accountant. She wasn't a financial expert. She wasn't anyone important. But she knew the truth, and the truth needed to be written. Camila began drafting an emergency correction report. Her handwriting was shaky at first, her fear leaking into the ink. But line by line, page by page, her letters straightened. Her confidence grew. She listed every questionable transaction, every false account, every duplicated figure, every illegally authorized transfer. She attached corrected liquidity projections, revised cash flow models, a timeline showing when the sabotage began, evidence of the forged signatures. The more she wrote, the more her terror transformed into defiance. By the time she reached the last page, her hand no longer trembled out of fear. It trembled out of conviction. She sat back, breathing heavily, staring at the comprehensive report. It was over 20 pages long. It was detailed, precise, undeniable. Anyone, any CEO, any board member, any auditor, reading this would know the truth instantly. She whispered, "This is enough to save the company." But then another, darker thought followed. It's also enough to get someone very angry. She picked up the report, held it in both hands. The weight felt heavier than paper, like holding someone's fate, or her own. She took a deep breath. "This has to reach him," she said softly. "Tomorrow morning, before that transfer goes through." Her fingers tightened around the pen. She leaned forward and signed her name at the bottom. Camila Wax Custodial Services, Maxwell Towers. When she lifted the pen, her signature glowed under the lamp. Her truth, her courage, her risk. This was the line she couldn't uncross. As she stared at her name, the room suddenly darkened for a split second. The lights flickered. Camila's head snapped up. Footsteps, slow, heavily paced, echoing down the hallway. Her breath froze. Was it security? Another executive? The saboteur? Someone who left something behind? The footsteps grew louder, steadier, closer. Camila's pulse raced. Someone was walking toward the CEO's office. At midnight, her hands tightened on the report. Her eyes darted to the door. The footsteps stopped, right outside. Her heart slammed against her ribs. A shadow passed under the door. The handle twitched. Just once. Someone was standing there, listening, waiting. Camila's breath hitched as the light flickered again, and the figure outside slowly reached for the door. Camila signs her emergency report, just as the office lights flicker and someone walks past the door, stopping directly outside. Drop a comment if you'd have the courage to do what Camila is doing. Morning arrived long before the city opened its eyes. The first rays of dawn sliced between skyscrapers, casting streaks of gold across the glass walls of Maxwell Towers. The sunrise reflected off every window, flooding the executive floor with a soft, warm glow. But inside the CEO's office, the warmth did nothing to calm the storm inside Camila Wax. She stood in front of the massive desk, heart pounding, her palms sweating against the thick folder she held. She had been up half the night documenting the sabotage, cross-checking data, crafting the emergency rescue report that spelled out the truth no one else had seen. Truth heavy enough to crush careers. Truth dangerous enough to get someone hurt. Truth powerful enough to save a billion-dollar empire. Her throat tightened. She was about to do something no maid had ever dared in the history of this company. She walked around the desk. Slow, careful, almost reverent. Her eyes locked on the CEO's chair, a throne of black leather, towering, intimidating, drenched in authority. She touched it lightly. It was still warm from the sunlight seeping through the windows, or maybe from the thousands of decisions made in it. Decisions that built wealth, destroyed competitors, created millions. She whispered, "I'm not supposed to be here." But then she remembered what her father told her the night before he died. If you know the truth, don't let fear bury it. Her eyes burned. Her father hadn't been rich. He hadn't owned skyscrapers. He wasn't CEO. But he taught her something no one in those glass towers seemed to know. Courage doesn't come from power. It comes from conscience. And right now, no one else in this building had more conscience than she did. Camila inhaled deeply and sat down in the CEO's chair. The leather wrapped around her like the embrace of a world she wasn't meant to enter, but one she was fighting to save. Her breath shook. She set the folder on the desk and opened it wide. Paper spread out before her like a battlefield map. Corrected financial reports. Evidence of forged signatures. Lists of illegal transfers. Calculations she'd worked on until her fingers cramped. She organized them with care, page by page, creating a structured rescue plan. Section 1. Identified fraudulent activity Section 2. Corrected liquidity summary Section 3. Timeline of internal sabotage Section 4. Proof of forged authorization Section 5. Urgent preventive strategies Section 6. Personal statement of discovery. Her pen scratched across the page, marking important points, circling dangerous figures, underlining the dates that tied everything together. The deeper she went, the clearer the truth became. Someone inside this company was operating like a ghost, stealing millions, fabricating reports, and setting the perfect trap for a Friday collapse. By the time she stacked the last page, her fear had evolved into something sharp and powerful. Purpose. She stood up, walked to the printer in the corner of the room, and began printing the key documents she found earlier. The forged reports, the mismatched signatures, and the time-stamped transfer logs. Each sheet slid out with mechanical whir, slowly building a pile of undeniable proof. The sound echoed to the empty floor, haunting, steady, final. Camila gathered the printed pages and placed them neatly inside a bright red folder. It was the only red item she could find in the entire office, a perfect signal of urgency. She grabbed a marker, hesitated, then began writing in big, dark letters. Urgent, company rescue, for CEO only. Her handwriting was still trembling, but her resolve wasn't. She stared at the words for a long moment. Camila wasn't just cleaning up a mess anymore. She was saving an empire. She looked out at the skyline. The city below was waking up slowly, lights blinking on in buildings, taxis moving, workers rushing. But none of them knew that Maxwell Holdings, the giant in the center of this concrete world, had been holding its breath on the edge of collapse. None of them knew a Maid was the reason disaster hadn't arrived already. Her heart swelled with a mix of fear and pride. She placed a red folder right at the center of Andre Maxwell's desk, perfectly aligned, impossible to miss, glowing like a warning flare. It was time. Time for someone in power to see the truth she'd uncovered. Time for someone to understand how close they had come to destruction. Time for someone to act. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her father's old shop ledger, the only thing she had left of him. She ran her thumb across the faded numbers and felt him there with her, steadying her, guiding her. She whispered to the empty room, "I'm doing the right thing, right, Dad?" A tear slipped down her cheek. She wiped it quickly. No more fear. Not today. She began tidying the desk, positioning the documents like a presentation. Her heart pounded with each adjustment. The reports looked too good, her handwriting too precise, her calculations too confident for someone unqualified. The truth? She was terrified, but also ready. Finally, she stepped back. Everything was in place. The folder glowed red in the morning light. Her signature sat proudly at the bottom of the final page. Evidence lay ready to expose a criminal. An emergency rescue plan. Her plan was complete. Then a soft sound broke the silence. Ding. The elevator. Camila froze. The elevator never dinged this early on the executive floor. Not unless someone important arrived before schedule. Her heartbeat stopped. A shadow appeared on the frosted glass wall just outside the office. Tall, broad-shouldered, commanding. Then she heard footsteps. Powerful, firm, steady, the type of footsteps that didn't wander. They owned the floor they walked on. Camila's breath caught. "He's here," she whispered. The shadow moved closer. Her hands began to shake. The office door stood open just enough to see a figure in a dark blue suit approaching, illuminated by the golden morning light. He was checking his phone, scrolling fast, his jaw tight, his expression sharp. There was no mistaking him. Andre Maxwell, the billionaire CEO, walking straight toward the office. He was seconds away. Seconds from seeing a maid in his chair. Seconds from seeing the truth she uncovered. Seconds from learning his company had nearly been destroyed without him knowing. Camila felt her knees weaken. Her breath quickened. Her pulse thundered. This was it. The moment everything would explode. She stood frozen at the desk, unable to move, unable to hide, unable to speak. Andre's shadow swept across the carpet as he reached the doorway and stepped inside. The elevator dings. Andre Maxwell steps out, scanning messages, walking straight toward his office and toward the maid who just saved his empire. Still watching? Subscribe. The moment Andre Maxwell crossed the doorway into his office, the air seemed to change, like reality itself took a breath and held it. He stepped inside with the precision of a man who had spent years walking into rooms where billion-dollar decisions waited on him. His navy blue suit caught the morning light, giving him the sharp, intimidating glow of someone who never lost control. Until now, because the first thing he saw was her, a maid, in his chair, not dusting, not cleaning, not emptying trash, but sitting upright, surrounded by reports, spreadsheets, marked documents, corrected figures. His desk transformed into a battlefield of truth she had uncovered. And she wasn't panicked. She wasn't scrambling. She was frozen with fear, but also purpose. Andre's steps halted. His phone slipped from his hand, landing softly on the carpet. His eyes widened. His jaw shifted. His entire posture stiffened, as if he had walked into a version of reality he couldn't process. For a long, tense moment, he said nothing. Only his breathing changed, slower, heavier, edged with confusion, so sharp it felt like fear. Finally, in a voice low, shocked, and barely audible, he whispered, "What are you doing?" His words cut the silence like glass. Camila stood up so fast the chair rolled backward. Her hands shook violently. Her throat tightened. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. Andre stepped closer, eyes fixed on the red folder in the center of his desk. Urgent. Company rescue. For CEO only. His breath hitched. He looked up slowly, eyes narrowing at the maid standing across from him. Explain. The command was soft but powerful. Soft but unyielding. Camila swallowed hard. "Sir, Mr. Maxwell, I can explain," she said, her voice trembling. I didn't mean to invade your space. I didn't mean to sit here. It wasn't about the chair. I didn't know where else to go." Andre didn't blink. Camila took another shaky breath. "There are reports, sir," she whispered. "Reports I found under some folders. They were hidden. And I saw something that didn't make sense." She reached for the documents on the desk with trembling fingers. Andre watched each movement like he was watching a scene in slow motion. Too surreal, too impossible. Camila forced herself to continue. "These aren't mistakes," she said softly. Someone forged multiple financial summaries, signed transfers to fake accounts, created false liquidity projections. Andre's eyes flicked down to the papers. A muscle jumped in his jaw. Camila continued, tears forming but refusing to fall. Millions, sir. Millions have been siphoned out of your accounts. Quietly, repeatedly, consistently. Someone is trying to collapse the company before Friday. Andre's breath sharpened. His expression shifted from confusion to disbelief to something darker. He reached for the first sheet. His hand trembled. He read the transfer details, then the forged signature, then the unauthorized liquidity changes. His skin turned pale. He grabbed the second report, flipped it open, stared. Then a third, a fourth, a fifth. His breathing grew uneven. No, this can't be right, he muttered. This would mean. He stopped. He looked up at Camila again, eyes wide with a mix of horror and awe. You found this? He whispered. Camila nodded weakly. I didn't mean to, she said. I swear I wasn't snooping. I was just cleaning, and I saw the red warning on your screens. And then the hidden documents. And I don't know, sir, my dad used to run a shop, and he taught me to recognize patterns, and she choked on the words. I didn't want the company to fall. People depend on their jobs. I depend on mine. So I analyzed everything. I fixed the numbers. I wrote the correction report. I don't know if it's enough, but Andre wasn't listening anymore. He was flipping through the documents so fast the pages blurred. His eyes darted across every line, every correction, every calculation. His face grew more and more stunned with each passing second. Shock, then disbelief, then something close to fear. He looked like a man who had just seen the future he built crumble beneath him, only to learn someone had glued the pieces back together. Finally, he stopped flipping. He stared at the last page, at the signature. Camila Wax Custodial Services, Maxwell Towers. Time seemed to freeze. Andre lifted his head slowly. His eyes were different now. Not angry, not confused, not dismissive, but something else. Something heavy. Something life-changing. He whispered, You corrected all of this? Camila nodded, barely breathing. Yes, sir. You identified the pattern? Yes. You cross-checked every forward transaction? Yes. You did the liquidity recalculations yourself? Yes, sir. His mouth fell slightly open. And he swallowed. You wrote this emergency rescue plan? She nodded again. Andre stepped back, running a hand through his hair as he stared at her, like she had transformed into someone he didn't recognize. Then he laughed softly, not mocking, not amused, but overwhelmed. A maid, he whispered. A maid found what my entire financial department missed. Camila looked down, embarrassed. I'm sorry, sir, she murmured. I know it isn't my place, but I just... Stop, Andre said suddenly. Camila jerked her head up. Andre's voice softened. Don't ever apologize for saving something important. She blinked in confusion. He stepped closer, much closer, so close she could see the disbelief still shaking his pupils. Camila, do you understand what you've done? Her breath wavered. I think so. He held up the stack of corrected reports. This isn't a mistake. This is a miracle. Camila's lips trembled. Andre's voice dropped to a whisper. You just saved my company. Camila froze. Then Andre looked deeper into her eyes, as if searching for the right words. And finally he said what nearly knocked the breath out of her. Camila, you just saved my life. Andre looks up slowly, shock still shaking his voice, and says, Camila, you just saved my life. Type yes in the comments if you think Camila deserves a promotion. Andre Maxwell stood frozen in the center of his office, the red flag documents still trembling slightly in his hand. But something else was trembling too. Him, not out of fear, not out of shock anymore, but out of the heavy, suffocating realization that the betrayal threatening to crush his billion-dollar empire did not come from outside. It came from inside his circle, inside his company, inside his trust, inside the walls he built with loyalty and hand-picked talent. And Camila Wax, a maid, was the one who opened his eyes. Andre slowly lowered the papers, breathing deep like a man trying to steady an earthquake in his chest. He looked at her, really looked at her. Her eyes were swollen from lack of sleep. Her hands carried the ache of hours spent analyzing numbers no one paid her to understand. And her clothes still smelled faintly of disinfectant and lemon floor cleaner. Yet she stood there like the only honest person left in his tower. He exhaled. "Camila, these forged documents didn't come from random staff," he said quietly. "These signatures, these accesses, these accounts." His jaw clenched. "These came from someone on my executive team." Camila's lips parted softly, a mixture of worry and heartbreak, because she understood exactly what that meant. "For this kind of fraud," Andre continued, voice darkening, "someone needed high-level clearance. Someone who knows my systems. Someone who knows my habits. Someone who knew I wouldn't be in the office yesterday." He rubbed his forehead. This wasn't coincidence. This was orchestration. Camila swallowed, fighting the tightening in her throat. For a few seconds, silence hovered between them like a storm cloud ready to break. Then Andre pulled out his phone. "I'm calling Jacob, the head of internal audit," he muttered. "If anyone knows what's going on, it's him." He dialed. The phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. No answer. Andre frowned and redialed. 3 more rings. Straight to voicemail. He stared at the screen, confusion sliding slowly into suspicion. "He never misses my calls," Andre murmured. "Never." Camila stepped forward timidly. "Sir, that pattern I showed you, the repeated numbers, it's the same in every financial manipulation." She pointed to the corrected sheets. Someone covered their tracks using the exact same sequence. "It's like a signature." Andre blinked. It hit him. Hard. "How did my entire team miss this?" he whispered. Camila inhaled shakily and clasped her hands together. "People ignore what they're not looking for," she said softly. "Your team wasn't looking for sabotage. They were looking for growth, for projections, for success." Her voice cracked. "I was just looking for the truth." A silence fell. A heavy, emotional silence. Andre looked at her again. Really looked. Behind the uniform, behind the exhaustion, behind the shaking breaths, stood someone with mind sharper than his top analysts. Someone who didn't run when faced with something terrifying. Someone who stood alone in a dark office, protecting a company that never knew her name. Someone with courage, genuine courage. Andre stepped closer, voice low, gentle and raw. "Camila, why did you do all of this?" Her eyes filled instantly. She tried to speak, but the emotion lodged in her throat. Then slowly, painfully, she forced the truth out. "Because," she whispered, "I didn't want your company to die." Andre's eyebrows drew together. "Why?" he asked softly. Camila's voice broke entirely. "Because people depend on you. Families. Workers. People who don't have backup plans. People like me." Her chin trembled. "If this company fell, thousands would lose everything." Tears finally escaped, rolling down her cheeks. "And I know what that feels like," she said weakly, "to lose everything." Andre froze. For the first time, the billionaire, the titan of industry, the fear negotiator, the man whose voice could shift entire stock markets, looked shaken for reasons that had nothing to do with numbers. He saw her, not as a maid, not as a mistake in his office, but as a human being who cared about his company more than the people earning 6-figure salaries to protect it. He inhaled deeply, voice thick with something unfamiliar. "You don't understand," he said quietly. "No one, not even my executives, would risk their job for this place." Camila shook her head gently. "I didn't do it for applause. Or for attention." Her voice became softer, fragile. "I did it because you don't deserve to be destroyed by someone you trust." Andre's chest rose sharply. Something hit him, like truth delivered with a weapon's force. Camila Wax was not ordinary. She was not simple. She was not just staff. She was the kind of person companies were built on, the kind of mind empires needed, the kind of loyalty money couldn't buy. He opened his mouth to speak, to tell her everything he was thinking, but his phone vibrated violently in his hand. A notification flashed across the screen. Emergency meeting requested. Suspicious activity detected. Andre's eyes snapped wide. Camila's breath caught. Both of them stared at the phone as if it had spoken out loud. What does that mean? Camila whispered. Andre's voice dropped into a darker, colder register. It means, he said slowly, that the person sabotaging this company just made their next move. Camila stepped back, pulse racing. And it also means, Andre continued, they know someone found the truth. Silence. Electric. Terrifying. Heavy. Andre looked at Camila with a seriousness that sent chills through her spine. Whatever happens next, he said quietly, I need you to stay close. You're the only one in this building I trust right now. Camila swallowed hard, nodding, not out of confidence, not out of strength, but because she realized this wasn't over. This was just the beginning. Andre receives a phone alert. Emergency meeting requested. Suspicious activity detected. Hit like if Camila's courage inspires you. The boardroom on the 59th floor of Maxwell Towers had never felt so cold. The long marble table, the glass walls overlooking Manhattan, the golden morning light spilling across the floor. None of it softened the tension thick enough to choke the air. Andre Maxwell stood at the head of the table, a stack of fraudulent documents in his hand. Across from him sat the men and women who formed the backbone of his empire, his chief operating officer, his legal team, department heads. And right at the center of them, Marcus Reeds, chief financial officer, the man Andre had trusted for 12 years, the man whose signature appeared on every forged report. Camila Wax stood near the door, small, quiet, unnoticed, but absolutely essential. Her hands were clasped tightly behind her back. Her heart pounded in her ears. Her mind replayed the numbers, the pattern, the theft. Andre didn't sit. He didn't blink. He simply tossed the forged documents onto the table with a heavy thud. Someone in this room, he said calmly, tried to kill my company. Silence broke like glass. Nobody breathed. Marcus shifted slightly in his chair, eyes darting toward the papers. Andre's gaze sliced toward him. Marcus, he said, these signatures, these access logs, these transfers, all point to you. The CFO stiffened. A bead of sweat formed on his temple. I don't understand, Marcus stammered. This must be a mistake. Someone is framing me. Andre leaned forward. Then explain why every fraudulent adjustment came from your login. Marcus swallowed. He looked around the table, seeking an ally, but every executive avoided eye contact. He looked desperate, cornered, fragile. That girl. Marcus sputtered suddenly, pointing toward Camila with shaking fingers. She was snooping in your office. She has no right to be anywhere near your financial files. Every head in the room snapped toward her. Camila froze. Her breath caught. Her eyes widened with fear, but she didn't look away. Marcus stood up, anger rising in panic. She's lying. She forged those documents. She planted them. She's trying to set me up because she probably wants money. Andre's jaw flexed. Very slowly, he stood straighter, power radiating from him. Sit down, Andre said quietly. Marcus didn't. Instead, he kept shouting. She's manipulating you, Andre. She's a maid, a nobody. She doesn't understand these numbers. Slam. Andre slapped his palm onto the table, so hard the entire boardroom shook. Every executive jolted. The windows vibrated. Marcus fell silent. Andre stepped closer, voice low, lethal, and trembling with controlled rage. She found what you hid. The words landed like a verdict. Marcus' face twisted. His lips parted as if he wanted to argue, but nothing came out. Andre continued, eyes blazing. My entire financial department overlooked these discrepancies. Every analyst, every manager. He pointed at the documents. But Camila Wax, walked in and saw the truth in minutes. The tension grew deeper, darker. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. And you know why? Andre said, because she wasn't trying to protect herself. His voice dropped to a razor's edge. She was trying to protect this company. Marcus took a step back, panic creeping into his movements. This is ridiculous, he whispered, voice cracking. This is a setup. Andre cut him off by sliding Camila's corrected financial report across the table. It stopped right in front of Marcus. Every executive leaned forward. Marcus stared at the neat handwriting, the accurate calculations, the numbers matching real bank logs. Camila's signature at the bottom. Andre's voice softened. You use repeated number loops. A fraud pattern, so old even beginners catch it. Marcus stiffened. His lips tightened. His fists curled. And yet, Andre continued, you didn't expect the maid to understand it. He turned toward Camila, respectful, genuine. Except she understood everything. Camila lowered her gaze, overwhelmed. Marcus' breathing grew harsh, unsteady, almost animalistic. He was cornered, trapped, exposed. Andre stepped back. I trusted you, Marcus, he said, voice hollow. I trusted you more than anyone outside my family. Marcus' face twisted in anguish. I had no choice, he burst out. You were cutting budgets, cutting bonuses. I deserved more. After everything I did, after everything I built. You built nothing, Andre snapped. You tried to destroy it. A sharp click sounded near the door. Everyone turned. Security had entered the boardroom. 2 tall officers in dark suits. Their presence froze Marcus in place. He looked around the room, at the executives who once admired him, at the billionaire who once trusted him like a brother, at the maid who had torn down his perfect crime. And something in Marcus snapped. No, he whispered. No, this isn't happening. He stepped backward, then bolted for the exit. Chairs slammed backward. Executives gasped. Papers flew off the table. Marcus sprinted, hand reaching desperately for the door. But security moved faster. Their arms extended, blocking him. Marcus crashed into them with full force. But the officers didn't budge. He bounced back, stumbling, eyes wild, breath shaking violently. He was trapped, completely and absolutely trapped. Andre stepped forward, voice cold as steel. Marcus reads, he paused. You're finished. Marcus collapsed into a chair, holding his head, breathing rapidly as the weight of his downfall crushed him. The room remained silent. The empire was safe, for now, but this was only the beginning. Marcus bolts toward the exit, and security blocks him. What do you think should happen to Marcus? Comment your thoughts. The boardroom no longer felt like a meeting room. It felt like a courtroom, a battlefield, a place where a man's entire world was about to crash down around him. Marcus Reed sat slumped in a chair at the far end of the long marble table, his tie half loosened, sweat beading on his forehead, his breath shaky and uneven. The man who once strutted to the office like royalty now looked like a dethroned king, confused, desperate, and cornered. 2 security officers stood behind him, not touching him, not speaking. But their presence alone reminded everyone that this wasn't just a financial crisis. It was a crime scene. Andre Maxwell stepped forward, holding Camila's corrected financial reports. His voice was cold, controlled, lethal. Marcus, he said, we're going to do this one last time. Explain these numbers. Marcus swallowed hard. He looked at the documents spread across the table. Camila's handwriting, the precise corrections, the evidence of every forged projection, every false account, every hidden transaction. And then he looked at Camila, a maid, a woman he once walked past without a single greeting, a woman he treated like furniture. And yet she was the one who broke open his entire scheme. His voice cracked as he spoke. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Andre raised an eyebrow. Far? Marcus, your actions nearly destroyed a $10 billion corporation. Executives around the table exchanged looks, shocked, disgusted, shaken. One whispered, a maid discovered this? Another, she caught the CFO? A third leaned forward, jaw dropped. How did the entire financial department miss this? The murmurs grew louder. Marcus clenched his fists. He hated it. He hated being exposed by a woman he had always considered invisible. Everyone shut up. Marcus snapped. But no one listened. Not anymore. Andre set the documents on the table and crossed his arms. Camila, he said gently, show them what you found. The room turned to her. Camila stiffened. Her palms were sweaty. Her voice trembled for a moment until she remembered her father's words. If the numbers repeat without reason, someone is lying. She stepped forward. She spread the documents across the table. She traced a pattern with her finger. These numbers appear in every falsified report, she explained. That's impossible in real data. This repeated sequence, 52-19-52-19, was embedded to hide the fake transfers. Executives leaned closer, stunned. Even the COO gasped softly. Andre gave Camila a proud nod. Marcus panicked. You can't take her word over mine, he shouted. She's a janitor. She's lying. She wants a reward. Andre's voice sliced through the room. She wants nothing, he snapped. She risked her job, her livelihood, to save this company. Executives exchanged another round of stunned glances. Andre stepped closer to Marcus. Meanwhile, you plan to destroy it. Marcus froze. His eyes widened. His lips parted. He had never admitted anything. Not directly. But Andre's accusation hit him like a bullet of truth. He broke. Tears welled in his eyes. He dropped his head and confessed. You don't understand, Marcus whispered. I deserve more. I built this company with you. I kept it running. I made sacrifices you didn't even see. Andre's expression darkened. Sacrifices, he repeated. You stole from me. You nearly bankrupted thousands of employees. You sabotaged your own home. Marcus's voice rose in frustration. You cut budgets. You cut bonuses. I was being pushed out, don't you see? My plan would have worked. Everyone froze. No one blinked. Marcus continued, frantic, unraveling. If Maxwell Holdings collapsed, the stock value would plummet. I had shell companies ready to buy everything for pennies. I would have rebuilt it. I would have been the hero, me, not you. Gasps erupted around the room. The COO whispered. He was trying to steal the entire corporation. Andre exhaled sharply. The betrayal hit him like a blade. Slow, deep, personal. He stared at Marcus, once a brother, now a stranger. Marcus reads. Andre said quietly, You're terminated effective immediately. Marcus's face drained of color. You can't fire me. I can do more than that. Andre stepped back. Security stepped forward. Marcus jumped to his feet, panic flooding his features. No, wait. You can't do this. I built this place. SHE ruined everything. He pointed at Camila, screaming like a man who had lost all sanity. She's a maid. She's nothing. If she hadn't interfered, I would have destroyed thousands of lives, Andre finished. Security placed a firm hand on Marcus's shoulder. Marcus collapsed to his knees. Broken, finished, defeated. As he was escorted out of the boardroom, the room remained silent. Everyone processing the severity of what they had just witnessed. Andre turned to the executives. This woman, he said, placing a hand on Camila's shoulder, saved every single one of you. Executives nodded. Some stepped forward to thank her. Others apologized for ever overlooking her. For the first time in her life, Camila was seen, not as a maid, not as a background figure, but as the woman who saved $1 billion empire. Andre waited until the boardroom cleared. Then he turned to her. His expression softened, his eyes warm and intense. Camila, he said quietly, there's something I need to ask you, something big. Camila froze. Her heart skipped. Her breath caught. What was happening? Why did he look so serious? Why did it feel like her entire life was about to change? Andre stepped closer. Before I say it, he whispered, I want you to know you don't have to give me an answer today. Camila swallowed. What is it? She asked softly. Andre inhaled, then spoke, and everything in her world shifted. Andre turned to Camila and says, There's something I need to ask you, something big. If you're still watching, you're a real one. subscribe. The boardroom was empty now. The echoes of betrayal still lingered in the air, the scent of fear, the quiet after chaos. But for Camila Wax, none of that mattered anymore. Her hands were still trembling, her heart still racing, her mind still spinning from everything she had witnessed. The confrontation, the confession, the fall of the man who had almost torn down an empire. And now, Andre Maxwell was standing right in front of her, not as a billionaire CEO, not as the owner of Maxwell Holdings, not as the most powerful man in the building, but as a man who had just had his life saved by her. He studied her face, softly, almost gently, like he was seeing her for the first time. "Come with me," he said. His voice was low, measured, different. Camila nodded slowly. She followed him through the silent executive hallway, past the photos, past the awards, past the history of a company she once cleaned for minimum wage, now walking beside its billionaire owner, as an equal, as a woman who saved everything. The door to his private office slid open. Andre stepped aside. "After you." Camila stepped in nervously. The office felt different today, warmer, quieter, heavier with emotion. Papers were neatly stacked on his desk. 2 cups of untouched coffee sat on the side table. The city skyline glowed behind floor-to-ceiling windows. Andre walked to his desk. He didn't sit. He didn't speak. He took a breath, then turned toward her, holding a folder. Her stomach twisted. Her fingers tightened. "Camila," he began softly, "everything changed today." She lowered her head. "I didn't mean to cause trouble, sir. I just didn't want your company to fall apart. So many people depend on you. I didn't want to lose my job either, and—" "Stop." Andre raised a hand, gently, not harshly. "Camila Wax," he said firmly, "you saved this company." Her eyes widened. "You exposed something my entire financial department missed. Something I missed. You caught patterns my senior analysts couldn't even detect with software." Her lips parted. "But, sir, I'm just, He stepped closer. "No, you're not just anything." Her breath hitched. "You saw the truth," Andre continued. "You acted when you were scared. You risked everything to protect people who never even noticed you." Camila felt tears burn behind her eyes. "Sir, I don't know what to say." "Then don't say anything yet." Andre placed a folder on the desk. Inside were papers, not financial documents, not reports, not warnings, but something completely different. He turned them around so she could see. Her breath vanished. Her knees weakened. Her eyes filled instantly. Her name was printed at the top of the page. Camila Wax, Financial Insight Analyst, Maxwell Holdings, corporate level full-time. Her head snapped up. What is this?" she whispered. Andre smiled softly. "A job offer," he said. "A real one." Her hand flew to her chest. "But, sir, I don't have a degree. I've never worked in finance. I didn't finish college. I barely got this job. I don't want to embarrass you." Andre shook his head. "Camila, talent doesn't come from a certificate." He stepped closer. "You have raw instinct, natural intelligence, pattern recognition that can't be taught, and a moral compass most executives lost years ago." Camila covered her mouth. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "But my sister," she whispered, "I take care of her. She's sick. I can't afford special classes or training. I don't even know if I can do this." Andre's expression softened even more. "Then let me help," he said gently. "Your sister's care covered. Your training covered. Your future secured." Her voice cracked. Why would you do all this for me?" Andre looked at her like someone looking at the truth for the first time. "Because you earned it." Camila sobbed quietly. She had never heard those words in her life. Not once. Not from school. Not from past employers. Not from anyone. Andre walked behind his desk and opened a drawer. He pulled something out. A white, glossy plastic card. He held it carefully, almost ceremonially, then walked toward her. He placed it in her trembling hands. Camila looked down. A new ID badge. Her photo. Her name, her title, Camila Wax, Financial Insight Analyst, Maxwell Holdings. Her knees nearly buckled. She pressed a badge to her chest, crying silently, unable to speak. Andre touched her shoulder. Camila, you're not a maid anymore. Her breath shattered. You're part of my team. Silence filled the room, not awkward, not heavy, sacred. Camila felt something she had not felt in years. Hope, real hope, a future, a life she thought she would never touch. She wiped her tears and whispered, "Thank you, sir. I won't let you down." Andre gave her a determined nod. "I know you won't." In fact, he exhaled, eyes serious. "I need you for something even bigger. Something I can't trust anyone else with." Camila's eyes widened. What do you mean?" Andre didn't answer. Not yet. He simply walked to the window and stared out at the glowing Manhattan skyline. Like a man preparing for a war, only he understood. "Tomorrow," he said quietly, "everything changes." Camila felt the hairs on her arms rise. "Sir, what's going to happen?" Andre turned slowly. His eyes carried weight. Purpose. Fire. "Camila, there's another thread inside this company." Her heart dropped. "Another?" "You saved us today," he said. "And tomorrow, you're going to help me say what's coming next." Camila's breath stopped. Her fingers tightened around her new ID badge. Her life had changed, but the real storm hadn't even begun. Andre hands her the badge, looks out the window, and says, "Tomorrow everything changes." Comment, Camila Wax, if you believe she earned this moment. Sunlight poured through the glass walls of Maxwell Towers the next morning, warm and golden. The kind of light that made the city look like it was glowing. But today, something else was glowing too. Camila Wax. She stepped out the elevator, no apron, no cleaning cart, no badge that marked her as staff. Today, she walked with a new badge, a new title, a new identity. Financial Insight Analyst, Maxwell Holdings. Her heels clicked across the marble floor, a sound she had heard from a distance her whole life, but never made herself. Employees who once walked past her without seeing her turned to look. Some paused, some whispered, some stared in disbelief. And for the first time, every single pair of eyes held respect. Not pity, not annoyance, not invisibility. Respect. Camila lifted her chin, straightened her blazer, and continued walking. The quiet girl in the background no longer hiding in the shadows. Today, she stood in the light. A voice echoed across the lobby. "Everyone to the atrium. CEO announcement in 5 minutes." For the first time ever, Camila wasn't part of the invisible crowd standing in the back. She was walking beside the CEO, beside Andre Maxwell himself. And when they stepped into the open atrium, the entire company turned. Executives, security personnel, junior staff, managers, janitors, analysts, hundreds of people. Andre stepped forward. "Good morning, everyone," he called. The crowd quieted instantly. His voice carried weight. But something was different today, softer, warmer. "I gathered you all here because something extraordinary happened this week." A murmur moved through the room. Andre held out a hand, inviting Camila to stand beside him. People gasped. She stepped up, slowly, carefully, hearts thundering in the room, until she stood at the edge of the stage. Andre continued. "This company almost fell." He paused. "And none of us knew." Silence. False accounts. Forged data. An intentional sabotage from inside leadership. Executives stiffened. Employee whispers rose. But someone caught it. His voice grew proud. Someone none of us expected. Someone who saw what trained analysts could not. He turned toward Camila. "This woman saved us all." The atrium erupted. Whispers. Gasps. Hands covering mouths. Shock on every face. She caught the fraud. "She? A maid? She saved the whole company? Oh my God!" Andre lifted his hand again. "Her name," he said, "is Camila Wax, and she is now the newest financial insight analyst of Maxwell Holdings." A wave of applause exploded through the atrium. Employees clapped. Managers stood. Some even cheered. Camila covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. Andre leaned closer and whispered, "You earned this." Later that afternoon, Camila walked into her new workspace. Not the basement cleaning closet, not a supply hallway, but a corner office, the one right next to Andre's. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a full workstation, premium screens glowing with real analytics tools, a nameplate on the door, Camila Wax, financial insight analyst. She touched the glass letters with trembling fingers. Her fingers shook, her throat tightened, her eyes burned with tears she fought to contain. Her phone buzzed. A message from the hospital. "Camila, they accepted the payment. Your sister's treatment begins Monday." Her hand flew to her chest. She sank into her new leather chair and cried. Quietly at first, then with the full weight of years of struggle finally lifting from her soul. She wasn't invisible anymore. She wasn't trapped anymore. She wasn't surviving. She was rising. Camila turned in her chair and looked out at the Manhattan skyline. The city stretched out beneath her, skyscrapers, glowing bridges, shining the entire skyline, reflecting on her window. Yesterday, she was wiping these windows from the outside. Today, she was looking through them as a leader. She pressed her badge to her chest. No apron, no fear, no limits. Soft music swelled in the background of her memory. Her father's words echoing. Numbers don't lie. People do. If you see the truth, follow it. She smiled through tears. For the first time in her life, she felt proud of herself, not because a billionaire believed in her, but because she believed in herself. A new queen had risen, not born of privilege, not handed success, but forged through courage, brilliance, and heart. Camila Wax had rewritten her own destiny. And this was only the beginning. As Camila watches the skyline, her phone buzzes again. A message from Andre. "Camila, we need to talk tomorrow morning. Something bigger is coming." Her eyes widen. Her new journey is only just starting. What story should Camila's next episode cover? Drop your idea in the comments and hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.